scriptures that's about the coming of Christ. I personally have seen so many signs about other people who could have been Messiah, and I've seen signs, but I don't believe in that part at all, like falling of the stars and eclipse of moon and sun. These are not good enough for me. I think a religion who is from God has to have some fruits. Fruits that fulfill the needs of this time.
Absolutely right.
Unity of mankind, peace, elimination of all the prejudice, universal language, something that people come in the same umbrella, no matter what they believe in. Still, they have to work for certain things, and the religion that is true, first of all, I believe that it will, whether somebody wants to stop it or not, it will, first of all, will scatter very diversely through Chinese, Indians, Americans, doesn't matter. First of all, the religion of God would be very diverse. And second, I believe that the fruit has to be there, and not fashionable like drinking and things like that, but things that is really needed for this time, for the problems of the world, economically, environmentally, all kinds of problems.
Since your question is again spread out in so many areas, we have to collect it together and read through it first. This concept, as she's presenting, reminds me of the Baha'i image of the Golden Age, when a prophet comes addressing every people in a language with which they have been addressed before and they understand, and working a commonality between people on the basis of the minimal compulsions and the maximum freedom. And again, to introduce a language which should be the universal language of the world, they should understand all of it. Now, turning back to the religious history as quoted by the Quran, is there any evidence of the same from the history of prophets? None whatsoever. The point is, on the one hand, you support the Quran as a divine book and support all the divine scriptures up to that period, and suddenly you begin to completely revolutionize the image which has been created by the study of the divine scriptures and the divine history of people before, and bring a new idea altogether. Where is the substance in it? Why should God have gone about reforming things in a way which, according to the new idea, was an utter failure and which had no substance and no meaning? This is what should have been done. That's one thing. The second, how can it be done anyway? If somebody claims to be that prophet, what will be the criterion for judging him first? Or will anybody listen to his advice of having a universal language and this and that, and taking away certain restrictions and easing the tension of religion by saying, all right, you forget about this, forget about that, let's turn to a comparatively easier, more comfortable religious course which could be commonly exercised by all the people of the world. When you say that, where you gain your authority from? And do you not at the same time condemn all the previous attempts of God to devise a strict course for reformation? When you ignore the injunctions of God, then you suffer. Now this concept and the whole idea reminds one of St. Paul. the working of the mind is very similar to that. When he looked back at the whole issue of evil and sin and redemption and emancipation, he finally came out with a brilliant idea of his own. He said, his analysis in itself bore some weight, but within a limited sphere of argumentation. He said, if sin is defiance of the word of God and the law, then do away with law. There will be no sin left. Remove one pole and the opposite pole also falls. So doing away with the law, whether altogether or in part, is in fact acceptance of defeat by God. That whenever attempts were made to reform the society through legislation by God, the whole history of mankind stands witness to it that God failed in doing it. So he's accepted the easier way. All right, I remove the law and do whatever you please, but remember, behave, moderately. This is no answer. What is law? What is sin? First, unless we understand these things, we cannot create a criterion, universal criterion for the acceptance of a claimant or rejection of a claimant. But because I think the time is over, only 1 minute is left. So far I have only dealt with the question from the point of view of the similar questions raised by others, particularly, as I've said, by Baha'is themselves. So might be because she is an Iranian origin, she might have heard of these things from her friends, but I assure you there is no substance in that whatsoever. The reality is that religion is based not on this progressive changes in human way of life. A true religion is always based on human psyche and the requirements of human psyche, which are unchangeable. Sin can only be defined with reference to psychic factors, and deliverance can only be defined with reference again to the psychic factors. All the rest is hocus pocus, just meaningless. If a religion has to be evolved according to the change in times, then from the time of Islam up to now there should have been revealed so many religions in the world. Because every decade or so we saw changes. And from the time of Baha'u'llah up to now, there should be quite a few religions introduced by this time. Because in his case the change was so rapid that from the time of Bab and the time of Baha'u'llah, there is such a small difference that the entire law was annulled and the completely new teaching was granted because the time was changed. If the time changes so rapidly and at the end of the human progress, time does accelerate, I assure you. It changes very rapidly. Then if you go by the time and relate the divine teaching to the changing atmosphere of human conditions and environments and scientific progress, etc., every other year there has to be a new prophet bringing a new law, at least, if not twice a year. The only thing which is unchangeable is human psyche. That is why the Holy Quran lays stress on this. It says that each boy is born, each human is born on the fitrat of Allah, and fitrat of Allah is unchangeable. So judge the religions according to their teachings, whether they apply to human psyche or not. And if the Quranic claim is true, that the Quran is based on psyche, then as long as the psyche does not change, there can't be any other book which should replace the Quran. But this is a general answer. If you want any specific questions, you are welcome to come again, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right?